April 8, 1943, 27,000 feet over the coast of France. Oberleutnant Ralph Hernack adjusted his oxygen mask, a confident smirk spreading beneath it. Through the crystal canopy of his Focke-Wulf 190, he watched a spectacle that seemed to confirm every Nazi prejudice about American industry. Struggling for altitude were a group of aircraft so bulky, so aesthetically clumsy, they appeared to defy the very principles of flight. Die Amos haben uns, Fliegend Milchflaschen gecheckt, he crackled over the radio. Asterisk, the Americans have sent us flying milk bottles. Asterisk, his wingman's laughter was the perfect soundtrack. Below, the Republic P-47 Thunderbolts of the 4th Fighter Group made their combat debut. They were giants next to the sleek Predators of the Luftwaffe, with barrel-shaped fuselages and wings that seemed like a desperate afterthought. To the veterans of the Eastern Front, these jugs were a flying joke. What the German pilots were witnessing, however, was the dawn of their own obsolescence. They saw clumsiness. They failed to see the calculation. 7 tons of American steel, a 2,000 horsepower Hart, and 8 .50 caliber Browning machine guns, waiting to speak a language of pure, industrial violence. Within 18 months, the laughter would be silenced, replaced by a new term of terrified respect. Asterisk, Jabos, asterisk. The mathematics of destruction were already loaded in those broad wings. 3,400 rounds of ammunition, a combined rate of fire that could saw a Messerschmitt in half in less than 2 seconds of sustained fire. Asterisk, the Thunderbolt was not designed to win a dogfight. It was designed to win a war. Its genesis was a direct response to the Luftwaffe's dominance. Alexander Kartveli, Republic Aviation's chief designer, threw out the European playbook. Instead of a lightweight, nimble knife fighter, he engineered a sledgehammer. The prototype was a shock. It was enormous, weighing nearly 10,000 pounds empty. Its complex turbo-supercharger system, ducted through the rear fuselage, gave it a pregnant, industrial look. Test pilots approached it with skepticism, their first question invariably being, "This thing actually flies?" Not only did it fly, it possessed a singular, terrifying talent. It owned the sky above 25,000 feet, while German fighters gasped in the thin air. The P-47's turbo-supercharger forced sea-level atmosphere into its massive Pratt & Whitney R2800 double wasp engine, allowing it to deliver full power where its enemies were choking. It was a high-altitude Predator built for a battlefield the Luftwaffe didn't even know existed. Asterisk, the early days were brutal. The P-47 was unforgiving. It ground-looped on landing, torque-rolled on takeoff, and dove with such ferocious speed that pilots discovered the phenomenon of compressibility. The 56th Fighter Group alone lost 18 pilots and 41 aircraft in training accidents. The Thunderbolt was killing more Americans than the Germans were. Combat initially confirmed the German assessment. The P-47s couldn't turn with a Focke-Wulf, couldn't outclimb a Messerschmitt at lower altitudes. Luftwaffe aces like Joseph Pips, Priller reported confidently that the new American fighter was meat for the slaughter. The statistics seemed to agree, but beneath the surface, a different story was being written. The P-47s that were shot down were taking unbelievable punishment before falling. They were returning to base with dozens of cannon holes and hundreds of machine gun strikes damage that would have vaporized a lighter airframe. The massive radial engine, lacking vulnerable liquid cooling systems, could absorb direct hits and keep running. The aircraft's ruggedness was its first unspoken victory. Asterisk, the myth of the Thunderbolt was born on June 26, 1943, in the person of Lieutenant Robert S. Johnson. His P-47 was jumped by Focke-Wulfs from Jagdgeschwader 26. The encounter was a nightmare. Johnson's aircraft was ravaged in the first pass. A 20mm cannon shell shattered his canopy. Hydraulic fluid drenched the cockpit. His instrument panel was on fire. Wounded and convinced he was doomed, he tried to bail out, only to find the canopy jammed by another cannon shell. He was trapped in a dying machine. Then, a lone Focke-Wulf 190 found him. For the next several minutes, the German pilot conducted a methodical execution. He positioned himself on Johnson's tail and opened fire with his cannon. He exhausted his entire supply of 20mm shells. He then repositioned and emptied his machine guns. The Thunderbolt, now a flying colander, continued to fly. The German pilot, his ammunition spent, pulled alongside, stared in sheer, uncomprehending disbelief at the mangled but still flying wreck. offered a faint salute of utter confusion, and broke away. Johnson, flying half-blind and with failing controls, nursed his crippled aircraft back to England. When it landed, the ground crew stopped counting bullet and cannon holes after the tally surpassed 200. The structural backbone of the fuselage was nearly severed. The story became a legend. The Americans realized the incredible survivability they possessed. The Germans were forced to confront a terrifying new reality. Their weapons were sometimes insufficient. The reversal, from prey to apex predator. American pilots, led by commanders like Colonel Hubert Hub Zemp, stopped trying to fight the Luftwaffe's war. They developed tactics that played to the Thunderbolt's brutal strengths, the boom and zoom. Instead of turning, they climbed. They would ascend to 30,000 feet and above, soaring into a domain the P-47 ruled absolutely. From this heavenly perch, they would spot German formations below, roll inverted, and dive. The Thunderbolt's weight became its ultimate weapon, accelerating it to speeds exceeding 550 miles per hour faster than any German fighter could survive in a dive. They would boom through the enemy formation, their 8.50 calibers creating a convergence zone of lead that could disintegrate an aircraft in seconds. Then, they would zoom back to altitude, using their incredible speed to convert back into life-giving height, leaving any pursuers flailing helplessly below. The sound of those 8 guns, sustained, ripping thunder that German soldiers dubbed Roosevelt's piano, became the soundtrack of terror in the European skies. A 2-second burst delivered over 100 heavy projectiles into a space the size of a car. Where cannon shells could miss, the P-47's wall of lead ensured a hit. As longer-ranged P-51 Mustangs arrived to shepherd bombers deep into Germany, the Thunderbolt found its true calling as the war's most devastating fighter bomber. It could carry a bomb load equivalent to a World War I bomber, up to 2,500 pounds of ordnance, plus rockets. During the Normandy campaign and the breakout across France, the P-47 became the scourge of the Wehrmacht. They destroyed tens of thousands of trucks, locomotives, and armored vehicles. German movements were forced to a standstill during daylight hours. The ultimate testament to its design came when it began successfully engaging the Luftwaffe's wonder weapon, the Messerschmitt Me-262 jet. Though vastly slower, savvy P-47 pilots learned to ambush the jets during their vulnerable takeoff and landing phases. The jets were revolutionary, but they could not withstand the sheer volume of fire from the obsolete Thunderbolt. An avalanche of steel. The industrial victory The P-47's story is not just one of engineering, but of production. Republic Aviation built 15,683 Thunderbolts. At its peak, the Farmingdale plant produced one complete aircraft every hour. This was the mathematical reality that broke the Luftwaffe. A German pilot who survived an encounter with a P-47 would likely face a dozen more the next day. Each flown by a pilot trained to a standard Germany could no longer match. By the end of the war, the assessment had completely reversed. A captured German intelligence report from March 1945 starkly concluded, best fighter bomber of the war, unsurvivable in direct engagement. Years later, General Adolf Galland, the former commander of the Luftwaffe fighter arm, reflected with painful clarity, "We made a terrible mistake in 1943. We saw this big heavy fighter and laughed. The Americans didn't try to build a European fighter. They built an American one designed around production, firepower, and survivability. They were right." The P-47 Thunderbolt entered the war as an object of mockery, a flying milk bottle. It ended the war as an instrument of utter aerial dominance, having rewritten the rules of engagement and silenced its critics with the relentless, overwhelming logic of American industrial power. The laughter of the German aces in the spring of 1943 had been completely extinguished by the spring of 1945. Drowned out by the thunder of 8 synchronized 50-caliber machine guns,